A very compelling, exhausting African game. An exhilarating, dramatic, end-to-end stuff. Ghana 4, Central African Republic 3. A World Cup qualifier, typical World Cup qualifier cooked in the African setting. Ghana beating Central African Republic in a very dramatic fashion. But of course, this is a game that I expected to live up to the billing. And the video I did before this game, hours before the game, I was talking about the Central African Republic posing a very big danger and threat, and there are no pushovers on the African continent. Kudos to the team, Jordan Ayew and the boys. Jordan Ayew getting a hat-trick for Ghana and scoring how many goals? I think 8 in the last 5 games for Ghana. 8 goals in the last 5 games for Ghana. But then we go straight into action and we look at some of the key points of the game. Our stats not typically on the match, not on the setting of the match. What I will start on is something that I have kept on hammering over the years. To me, number one, what I learned from this game is that Kumasi is the venue. Kumasi is the place. If you want the Black Stars to take, Kumasi is the venue. This game would have been different and would have had a different end if it had been played in any other venue. And I'm not going to lie to you. Kumasi is the venue. Play the matches on Mondays, on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays, on Thursdays, on Fridays, on Saturdays, any days. Kumasi will be full. And this is what you need for your national team. The Kumasi Sports Stadium has lived up. Point number one. The game was on Monday, the start of the week, a working day. Forget about the fact that the Black Stars had gone to Mali to win. But look at the fans and look at the atmosphere. Kumasi is always the venue. The Black Stars are always going to play and enjoy in Kumasi. They are always going to have their fans behind them. The stadium is always going to look like this in Kumasi. And when you are an opponent and you step foot in Kumasi, it's always dangerous for you. Like I said, any other venue and you would have thrown this game away. Central African Republic buckled and cracked under pressure of the Kumasi fans. And let me be emphatic on this. We need to keep on emphasizing why the Black Stars and Kumasi have had such a very good relationship. Since 1972, I think it was a loss against Congo, the Black Stars have not lost a World Cup qualifier in Kumasi since 1972. How many years now? I think it's over 40 years since we last lost a World Cup qualifier in Kumasi. And for competitive games, very, very minimal losses and even draws. So the first point I learned from this game is that on a typical Monday night, World Cup qualifier, in a Black Stars team that is still under rebuilding, Kumasi came to life. Point number one, Kumasi is always the venue. Let me get to point number two, what I picked from this game, particularly in terms of the play. Well, secondly, I will mention that there are no pushovers on the continent of Africa. Again, there are no pushovers. There are no minnows. And you've watched the games, particularly for Ghana. We just got to understand that there are no pushovers again on the continent of Africa. There is no small team. We've seen what Lesotho, Comoros, and other teams have done. And for Ghana, the lesson is there for us to see. There are no pushovers in the continent of Africa. No team is too small to come to your venue and allow themselves to be beaten. Central African Republic came prepared. For Ghana, these are the teams that always give us the toughest of opposition. We will play against Morocco, Nigeria, Egypt, and beat them convincingly. All the teams that we have struggled to beat, and all the times that we've beaten them in a very raggy manner, are these teams: Comoros, Mozambique, Central African Republic, Madagascar, Angola, Lesotho. These are the teams that we struggled to beat. And so I knew from the start that we were going to struggle. But what we needed to do was to win the game. There are no pushovers on the continent. Kudos to Central African Republic and commendations to them. I think they came, they set up their team, they played, they excited, and their tactics was on point, especially in the first half. And this is something that every coach on the continent, every Ghanaian coach, every Ghanaian football fan must understand, that there are no pushovers on the continent, regardless of the fact that we were giants and we are still giants, sleeping giants. Let's put that at the back of our minds, that team bia ni Africa or ketwa or buy we saw shane 10 o size after first half. If you see that they are too weak and you can beat them by 10, you start beating them. But when you see that the team that you are weighing for the first 15-20 minutes is a strong team, you need to re-strategize and understand that there are no pushovers on the continent of Africa. This is Central African Republic. Ordinarily, 20-30 years ago, this wouldn't have been a game at all. Central African Republic, this would not have been a game. But now, this is where we are. So when it comes to football, there are no pushovers on the continent of Africa. This is my point number 2. And we all need to learn, especially for Ghana, that we struggle to play against some of these teams. And point number 3, this is to Coach Otuado and the boys. See, people who do not understand when I make this point should understand after watching 4 World Cup qualifying games in Group I. Specifically, I don't want to go to the other groups. You do not need to play exciting football to qualify for the World Cup. There is only one way to qualify for the World Cup, and that is by winning. You do not need to play exciting football to qualify for the World Cup. Exciting football is only a bonus. There are 2 things here. If you are playing in a league or something of a sort format, and you say you have built your team over 2-3 years, and so you trust your team to play exciting football according to your plan, you think that your team is akin to Barcelona of 2011 or 2009 or Brazil of 1970, you need to be establishing your authority on the game. Fine. But for teams like Ghana, Nigeria, teams that are still under rebuilding, there is no points. There are no points and rewards for playing exciting football. And this goes to Otuado. He mentioned at his unveiling presser that himself comes to Ghana national team and he can promise good football but not win. And I'm saying, unless of course the target is not for Otuado, the target is not for him to do what? The target is not for him to qualify for the World Cup. I would agree with him. But if Otuado says that he wants to qualify for the World Cup, then my point is still valid, that you are not going to win, qualify for the World Cup by playing exciting football. You do not need point for that. You don't get point for that. Let us understand this. And those of you who go to the stadium to watch exciting football, maybe you will see glimpses of it, flashes of it, fleeting aspect of the game, 1-2 dribbles. But to get to dominate 70%, 60% possession and lose, that is not what you require to qualify for the World Cup. And again, you do not need to set up your team to have 5 attackers. To do what? To score a goal. We did in Mali. We scored 2 against Malians who had 5 or 6 attackers, and we won all the 3 points. I don't think that we need to change the strategy until the team has gelled, until the team has become so compact and the cohesion is effective to the point that every player knows where the other player is and they know their weaknesses. You do not need to play exciting football to qualify for USA, Canada, Mexico. That should be it. Today, Otuado went into the game with too many attackers, and so the midfield was completely broken at some point in time. But for the penalty we had, I believe that things would have been gone south. Things would have gone down south. But for the penalty, because Central African Republic had a strategy to stand us, you could clearly see that they had set up their team. Raoul Savoy had set up the team to stand Ghana. So they were always playing the long balls. And because we did not have the midfield in place, our midfield in the first half was virtually non-existent. And I'll come back to why it was so. Because we have packed a lot of attackers and on the wings. And these are players who do not track into the midfield to support the midfielders or the defensive midfielders. So Partey was actually cut out of the game. By who? By this guy, He's a top guy, Geoffrey Kondogbia. But for Kondombia's injury, latter part of the first half, you could see that he was limping. He clashed with, I think, Salisu. And after that, he struggled to get himself, impose himself in the game like he did. Look at the pass that he lobbed over the Ghanaian attack. This was it. Geoffrey Kondogbia. The ball in their 18, in front of their goal area. Lobs it over the top for Mafuta to latch onto it to get their goal. This was it. So it was a quick thinking. The ball in their goal area, they kick it, and at once it gets into the Ghanaian area. That was the intelligent thinking of Geoffrey Kondogbia. And I think that his experience always comes to bear for them against Mali, against Chad, against Comoros. This is a player that we should have watched out, and especially for their number 9, Luis Mafuta, who scored the 2 goals, was quick, his feet always on the attack, always running across, and he was too difficult for our defenders to deal with. He made mincemeat of them in the first half, and his connection with Karl Namanga was also very effective and fluid on the wings. They cooked Alidu, my man, very, very well in the first half until we came back in the second half. So I think our central defenders, our 2 central defenders in this instance did not help matters. I don't know how they were outmuzzled by Luis Mafuta in getting this ball. 2 of them allowing him to latch onto the ball. But then we've gotten the goals. So we will come back to that. So Geoffrey Kondogbia, kudos to him. But for his injury, I think that they would have been a very, very tough customer for us in Kumasi. Geoffrey Kondogbia, formerly of Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid, Valencia, and now plays for Marseille. He's been very integral and colossal for Central African Republic, particularly in this World Cup qualifier. Let me go to point number 4. Point number 4, and I still come back to this. Our defense needs to shaping up. Our defense needs to shaping up. The rate and way of manner of conceding goals. If we meet a team that has a very strong defense and keeps their concentration and focus throughout the game, we are going to struggle. Look at the first goal, the second goal here. How the defender got into the 18-yard box alone. Where were our defenders? Where were they? Salisu, Jiku, all of them. It was Gideon Mensah who had drafted to the right back. Alidu was not there. And the center backs were virtually absent. This is where the attack started when Mohamed Kudus lost the ball. They started the attack here and put 2-3 passes together. And before we realized, they were in the 18-yard box. And between Gideon Mensah and Lawrence Atizigi chasing the defender, none of our defenders were in the area. And you could even see that Central African Republic had more men in the 18-yard box than Ghanaians. It was only Gideon Mensah, and I think that he could have done better, especially at this point where he could have just decided to clear the ball anyway, anyhow. But we left the attacker, Luis Mafuta, to get his day and get the brace. So our defense need to toughen up. Salisu and Jiku, the partnership hasn't been effective. I understand we are still building a team. But these are experienced players. These are people who have been there for a long time, and you don't expect them to make some of these errors. It was very, very unpardonable. And like I said, if you encounter a team that is so strong, you are going to suffer to get back into the game. Also, there are issues that we need to sort out with respect to the transition between our defense and attack. The transition between our defense and attack has not been effective. We need to get a ball carrier, somebody who is a typical playmaker, to transition between the defense and attack. Partey hasn't imposed himself. I don't know if it is the formation or tactical deployment of the oppositions that we've met that has let Partey struggle to impose himself in games. But I think he's yet to have the typical Partey. And I mentioned in the video previously, before the game, that Partey should impose himself, because I knew the midfield of Central African Republic were going to be crucial. They were going to chase a lot of balls and be very physical. So Partey was going to determine if we keep hold of the midfield and win this game. But then Godfrey Kondombia came atop in this particular game, and it was all evident until he left the pitch. So we seriously need to change how we approach the game in midfield. Our setup is always not effective when it comes to transitioning between defense and attack. This is where we need to work a lot. Now, point number 5. This guy is inevitable. Jordan Ayew has become inevitable now. 8 goals in the last 7 games for the Black Stars. Changed the scoreline dramatically in Bamako. His penalty conversion, if not 100%, is 99.99% for the Black Stars. 99.99% for the Black Stars. Jordan Ayew has become very, very integral for the Black Stars. And what time it is Jordan Ayew's time. I believe we all understand that this guy has saved Ghana some 6 points in this qualifiers with his experience. His experience came to bear again today. We would have struggled. Jordan Ayew has proven that experience in times when you need it. Look at the composure with which he slotted in the penalty. 100% conversion rate for the Black Stars, if not 99.99%. Penalties are a thing of a challenge, an unsurmountable challenge or task for Black Stars, except for Jordan Ayew, who is the typical penalty taker of the team, who is an exception to the rule that the Black Stars are not good at penalties. Jordan Ayew deserves more praise. 6 points in the World Cup qualifier, and the number of goals he scored, 4 in 2 games. It's no mean achievement. I don't think Jordan is a player who will get swollen-headed or who will get complacent. And you could see from today's game, at a point when the supplies were not coming, I saw on Twitter that he should be taken off. But you clearly could see that of all the guys in front, Kudus, Fatau, himself, and Kamaldeen, he was the most composed player when he gets into the 18-yard box. And you could clearly see that his positioning was on point. Jordan Ayew has saved Ghana twice in this qualification stage, and it is time that we pay him the sort of respect he deserves. We give him his due, because he's come under flack. He's received a lot of flack. His head has always been on the chopping board, but when he performs, it's difficult for people to give him his credit that he deserves. But also, Jordan Ayew has become inevitable, the most experienced player on the field, and makes the experience count. But don't let us forget that Fatau Issahaku is improving as a player, or has improved tremendously. And all kudos to Enzo Maresca. Fatau Issahaku now wants to play for the team. He wants to set up other colleagues to score. He wants to find himself in positions that he can supply balls instead of shooting. I don't think I've seen him play a game without shooting more than 2 or 3 times. The only time he shot today, he was in a very good position, and Kudus actually provided a guard for him to get a shot in that deflected into the net. I believe we all have witnessed the transition of Fatau Issahaku and the growth that he's had. Look at the goal that he scored. At this point, you will say that Fatau Issahaku had gotten to the point where you can call him a player who is transforming his club career, translating the effectiveness at the club side into the national team, and he's improving tremendously. I believe also that today was not a good day for Kamaldeen. We were lucky. We were very lucky that we did not concede a penalty. The referee, I think, played to our advantage twice or thrice in this game. Central African Republic were undone by some decisions. We need to be fair, by some decisions of the referee. And Kamaldeen Sulemana did not have a good day. It wasn't to be his day. The shots were feeble. The dribblings were not going through. His runs were being blocked, and it was very very difficult watching at some point. But kudos, because by the time he was taken out, Ghana had come from the 2 goals down to lead by 3 goals to 2. So all these cracks will be covered or bandaged by the win. But we need to approach games by knowing the kind of score lineups that we have to set up. We need to know the lineups that we go into games with. The too much attacking intent in the World Cup qualifiers doesn't help. You do not need to get all that to be able to win games. And there were players who did not give a very good account of themselves today. And it is normal, because some teams have set up to come and take out your star players in. But like I'm saying, big players need to stamp the authorities on games. Our big players need to come alive. And I'll mention again, our big players need to come alive. They need to come alive because these are the players that you expect them to have their day, to change things when things are difficult for the country. These are players that you expect to come alive and shake the situation. Our big players need to come on and live or make an impact on games. This is all I'm saying. We still need to build our defense and our goalkeeping department. Today was good somehow, but not too good for Lawrence Atizigi. You can't blame him for, many of the goals that he conceded, but I think that he could have done better with the last goal, especially from where it came from and as there was a war. But we've won. The fact that we've won does not mean that there are no issues with the team, but we need to commend Otuado for 2 wins in 2 games. Big news for Ghana being on top. Now let's see how the group has shaped up now. So I'll try to show you how the group is now, and then we know if the Ghana Black Stars will have an opportunity or advantage of staying on top till March next year. Let's see how the groups are at this point. Okay, so we go to Group I. In Group I now, Ghana Black Stars have won 2. Okay, I'm trying to get the standings because there are 2 games tomorrow. There are 2 games tomorrow for Comoros, who play against Madagascar, will play against Mali, and Comoros will play against Chad. These are 2 interesting games, and the dynamics could swing the group in favor of any of these 2 teams. So this is it. This is the table. In Group I, Ghana leads now with 9 points. Madagascar have played a game less with 6 points, and they play Mali tomorrow in Johannesburg. Comoros will play at home tomorrow against Chad. Mali are playing Madagascar, like I mentioned. So Ghana leads with 9 points, Madagascar with 6, Comoros with 6, Mali with 4, Central Africa with 4, and Chad with no point. So the game between Chad and Comoros likely to end in a win for Comoros, especially at home. 9 points for them because they have 6 goals already and 4 against. So even if they score 1 goal, they will come on top of the group tomorrow. Madagascar also have 6. If they beat Mali, it will depend on the number of goals they score. But at this point, these 2 teams can leapfrog Ghana on the table before March. But this is how the table is faring. We all have to be alert and focused and pick it game by game. But massive commendation to Addo and the boys for another win. A win in the World Cup qualifier is a win. Nigeria have gone to Benin and lost, and they are without a win in all the 4 games. Nigeria are without a win in 4 games. Quite incredible. Finidi George has come under intense backlash home in Nigeria after that loss in Benin today. So the World Cup qualifiers in Africa is a different ball game together, and we need to always be on the lookout and be focused throughout. Except that we have scored 2, 4, 5 goals, and we can start making noise and trying to play attractive football and whatever we call it. But this was a good game today, end-to-end stuff. Central Africa Republic, to me, have shown that there are no minnows in African football now, and this is a solid side Also praise to their coach, Raul Savoy. He came in, big talks, big play. But for Godfrey Kondombian's injury, I think a lot of things would have turned overhead for the Black Stars. Thank you very much for watching. So these are some of the things that we learned from the game, and we need to come up with the player ratings later. Thank you.